And we are taking you straight to Ottawa now, where we begin our analysis with Glen McGregor, who's been at the Liberal convention all day. Glen.
Yeah, Cynthia, this was kind of the easy part of this process. The hard part begins now. I mean, for Mark Carney, a speech very heavily on the theme of unity, pretty much like every leadership acceptance speech ever given. This time, though, a little more poignant given the situation that we are facing with the threats to our national sovereignty and our economic well-being from the Trump tariff threats. So Carney spent pretty much equal time talking about Donald Trump, the need to stand up to the threats of tariffs, vowing that those Canadian tariffs that have been put in retaliation will stay in place as long as they need to be. But he also took a lot of shots at Pierre Poilievre and trying to cast Poilievre as somebody who was more aligned with Donald Trump. At one point, I think one of the most poignant lines of his speech was talking about Poilievre, saying, "You can't go with somebody who worships at the altar of Donald Trump, because that is a person who will kneel before him." It's very strong language. Things, though, are going to get real for Mark Carney very quickly in this coming week. He's going to have to go to Rideau Hall to be sworn in by the Governor General as Prime Minister. We didn't hear anything in the speech about the timing of that. And then, possibly on the same day, or maybe a couple of days later, he's going to have to swear in a new cabinet. We think that's largely going to be kind of a caretaker cabinet, bringing over some of the people who are currently in cabinet, who are still planning to run again, and crucially, maintaining the people who are dealing with the U.S. through this period. People like Melanie Joly, the Foreign Affairs Minister, François-Philippe Champagne, the Industry Minister, and David McGuinty on the public safety side, and Dominic LeBlanc on the finance side. We think those people are going to stay in their jobs for at least until we get into an election campaign. And then, of course, Carney's got to decide when that campaign is going to start. Is he going to wait until the 24th of March, until the House comes back for the prorogation period, and the new Carney-led government would have to deliver a throne speech, and then could face the possibility of a non-confidence vote in the first couple of days, which would topple the governments, because both the NDP, the Bloc Québécois, and the Conservatives have all said they will vote non-confidence in this government. But then on the tariff threat, this is where Carney gets thrown into the deep end immediately, because Donald Trump the other day said that he is planning more tariffs on Canada, on timber, on lumber, and also the dairy sector. Those, he said, could come in as early as Monday. And then also next week, Cynthia, there are other tariff threats, including the tariffs that Trump has promised to apply to Canadian-made steel and aluminum. It was interesting tonight, before Carney spoke, we heard from Jean Chrétien, the former Prime Minister, really a defiant message, saying Canada should strongly consider putting export tariffs on things like oil and gas and Canadian aluminum, in order to make the Americans suffer the most. So the motorists filling up their pumps are going to pay more. We know that is a divisive problem here in Canada, something that Alberta is very much opposed. Saskatchewan also doesn't want to see that. So Carney is going to have some serious decisions to make in the next couple of days. There is not going to be much of a honeymoon period. He's not going to be able to coast, Cynthia. He's going to have to get right at it immediately.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, the Conservatives, they've been pretty much planning that he was going to win tonight. I'm sure they have a whole roster of attack ads waiting to hit send on.
Yeah, and we've already seen a lot of those attack ads. They've really kind of narrowed in on this decision that made by Carney's, the company that he was, until recently, was the chair of the board, that's Brookfield Asset Management, and their decision to move their corporate headquarters to the United States to get more favorable listings on U.S. exchanges. Carney has not really responded to this very well. He kind of fumbled on this file. He could have explained it by saying it was a move, really kind of a paper move, and it wasn't really a total relocation of his headquarters, but he was evasive about his involvement in this. Conservatives smell blood here. They think he is vulnerable on that kind of things. This is an opportunity before the next election, because we are outside the writ period. The Conservatives can spend as much money as they want on advertising, trying to define Mark Carney before the campaign actually starts, and then they would be covered by spending caps. But they're going to go really, really hard in the coming days, trying to define to Canadians, because I mean, we cover politics here. We know who Mark Carney is. We've been following him very closely. A lot of Canadians don't know him. A lot of Canadians will be seeing him tonight for the first time, trying to get a sense of who he is. The Conservatives want to get out there and frame him the way they want to be most vulnerable when the election campaign, Cynthia, actually gets underway.
Glen McGregor, this is going to be fascinating to follow the next few weeks and months in Canadian politics. Thank you very much from Ottawa.